When I read this article, I was not shocked at all with the current state of things and with transgenderism, LGBTQ being forced upon innocent children. Stuff like this don't surprise me at all. You see the title. New York lawmaker wants sex ed for kindergartners. Now, just take time out for a moment to think. Think about all of the cartoons that were canceled recently because it offended someone. The cancel culture went crazy on Dr. Seuss and Pepe Le Pew and various Disney characters. But yet they allowed transgenders to read books to children. What we see occurring now is no more than a huge puzzle that contains so many pieces that's scattered in the minds of humans. And because of the fact that these pieces are scattered, there are so many people that have not yet put pieces together that will enlighten you to the fact that there is an agenda. And it's not an innocent agenda. It's an agenda that's selfish and that feeds to the lust of those that's making these laws. The same people that's persecuting and prosecuting people for sex crimes, sexual offenses, when a man tells a woman that she's an attractive woman, when he compliments her, or do what men do. These men are brought up on charges, but yet you have New York lawmakers that want to provide sex education for kindergartners. This takes my mind back to the Garden of Eden. When Adam and Eve had no knowledge of the tree of knowledge, they have not taken of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They had no idea that they were walking around naked. They didn't look at the naked body like we do. They didn't lust after the naked body as we do. Adam did not see a woman's breast or a woman's butt or a woman's vagina when Eve was naked. But when they allowed the serpent to get into their heads, and I say when the serpent was allowed to get into their heads, you have to consider the serpent first beguiled Eve, and then Eve took the serpent's knowledge to Adam, and Adam listened to the woman, and they've taken of that fruit that was forbidden, that the Most High says that you shall not even touch it, lest you die. So when Eve took back that serpent's knowledge, and they both looked at it longer than they were supposed to, that it was good and pleasing to the eyes and to make one wise, they had taken it and eaten of it. And then Eve gave it to her husband, and he ate, and both their eyes were naked. The moment both their eyes were open, they both ran and hid themselves when they heard the voice of God walking in the cool of the day. And they tied fig leaves to cover their shamefulness, not realizing before they were not ashamed to be naked. I remember when I had a tour overseas to Germany. We Americans were surprised at the fact that nudity was open to the Europeans. When you turn the television on, you've seen a man and a woman naked. You've seen a man and a woman having sex. And it was nothing to the Europeans because that was something they were used to seeing every day. They didn't lust after what they saw on television. But the reaction of the Americans was like, dang, man, y'all get to watch this? They were shocked because it's something that we just did not see unless you went to a strip club or unless you watch pornography. And even to this day, pornography is a big industry in America. During this so-called pandemic, everything was shut down except for porn sites. Strip clubs were allowed to continue to operate because we're living in a society where it's oversexed. But now the New York lawmakers want sex education for kindergartners. And I liken this to these innocent minds that should be not concerned about adult issues. They should not be concerned about the woman's reproductive system or a man's sexual organ or a woman's sexual organ. They should be playing in the playground. They should be watching the cartoons that they just recently canceled. But instead, you want to reprogram their mind with perversions to satisfy and please someone that have a perverted mindset. It's for someone else's own personal gratification. They care nothing about these children's minds. If they cared about the children like they say, they would not pass laws to abort these children. They would allow these children to be born and to be able to experience life. And only God above knows if a lot of prophets or good people that would have brought good things or contributed good things to this earth would have been born, but yet they destroyed it. And I've always said, just because you see a black face, that does not mean that they're there to do righteous and justice. Now, this woman looks like she could be a foreigner. She does not look like a so-called black American, and we can tell by her facial features. We can tell by the texture of her hair and the look in her eyes. But yet, brown faces were placed in the front to deceive the minds of the masses. So I'm going to read only a portion of this article, and then I'm going to put the link in the description box and you can read it for yourself. Get ready for the latest woke wave in education. Comprehensive sex ed for kids as young as 5. Thanks to a new bill in the state Senate. Legislation sponsored by State Senator Samara G. Broke, a freshman Democrat from Rochester, would tie New York's health curriculum to standards written by a left-wing interest group that advocates sex ed for social change and would make those lessons mandatory statewide. So they want to penetrate the minds of the children. And I use that term penetrate as a indirect message to what they really want to do with your kids. With all of this sex trafficking and human trafficking that's occurring across this nation, them wanting borders to be open, now they want to take away the innocence of a child by killing off the cartoons and replacing it with sex ed. And once these kids become aware, once their eyes are open to adult issues, that changes the whole scheme of things. And this is my prediction. Once these kids' eyes are open, it's going to change the whole dynamic of things. The age of consent will change in New York State. They will drop the age of consent in New York State because it allows the perverts and the pedophiles to have a field day with these kids, with the young minds that are innocent and that's pure. This is no more than a demonic agenda that's being pushed onto the children. But this is where the parents come into play. Protect your children. I don't care what laws they pass. I don't care what mandates they put in place. Protect the innocence of your kids. It's sad because once your child leaves to go to school, you really have no way of stopping that. And even if you homeschool your kids, by the mere fact that someone else's child is being taught at a kindergarten age sex education, that child is going to corrupt the minds of your child that's being homeschooled. So it really makes no difference because a child's mind is being opened during this wake state. Just like back in the Garden of Eden, when their eyes became open and they were aware. Once these innocent minds become aware, we're going to start hearing more cases of children being molested and abused because now they are aware. They know. They were taught by adults to do adult things. This is where this is going. Under that group's current standards, public and charter schools would have to teach 5-year-olds about gender identity and instruct 8-year-olds on hormone blockers to prevent puberty in transgender identifying preteens. This is what this is all about. So they're showing favor now. They're discriminating because your now tax dollars are going towards building transgenders. And they're training your child to accept transgenderism and creating confusion in your child's life. Now, I've been around since 1960. My mind is not going to change. You're not going to change my mind. There's no law that's put in place will change my mind. I know what a man is, and I know what a woman is. And that's where the parents' responsibility is, to teach their kids in spite of what the teachers tell them. It's your duty your obligation to correct your child. But what's going to happen is people like myself are going to fade out. That's their overall agenda, is to fade out people like us. When we die off, now you have this new generation that's being raised to not know the difference between a boy or a girl. They only know what they're being programmed to know. It says kids as young as 11 would get lectures on vaginal, oral, and anal sex. Study queer to spirit. Quite interesting, to spirit. I'm going to read that again. Kids as young as 11 would get lectures on vaginal, oral, and anal sex. We didn't even get that in school. Me being 60 years of age have never gotten this type of sex education in school. We've never learned about study queer or two spirit. It says asexual, pansexual, and other gender identities, and receive explicit instruction on the use of external and internal condoms, dental dams, and other contraceptives. Now, they're preparing these kids to have sex. Once their eyes are open, they're going to become like Adam and Eve. This is the second fall of man. Broke told the Post, "I'm greatly concerned about the unacceptably high incidence of relationship violence, sexual harassment, and assault, and online bullying in our society today. We must equip the next generation with the skills and education they will need to thrive." In other words, they want to reprogram these kids. And then I'm going to read these last couple of paragraphs, and I'll put the link on the bottom. You can check it out for yourself. But her proposal would legally link New York schools to shifting recommendation of the Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States. We would be outsourcing our curriculums to this outside organization, said Assemblyman Michael Riley, a member of the Education Committee. That's a concern, is what it says. So I'm going to put the link on the bottom, man. Listen. And it's interesting to me, and I've said this in the past, and I've had videos on YouTube removed, and I would not be surprised if this video is removed. But we're opening the borders, or they're opening the borders to illegal immigrants. That's like you going to sleep having a dream. And in your dream, you're in an entirely different nation or state. And in your dream, you have the opportunity to do something that you would not normally do if you were awake. Because there's laws that's in place for people like you. But when you're asleep, when you're in your sleep state, there's people that feel I can go ahead now and commit these damnable deeds because I won't be held accountable for that. Maybe on a spiritual level you will, but on a natural level you won't. So now in your sleep state, you're able to have sex with children. You're able to commit adultery and fornication. You're able to have gay sex. And then when you wake up, you can feel that I'm still a heterosexual man or I'm still a heterosexual woman. But in reality, in the spirit world, in your soul, in your spirit, you're gay. That's the way it is with these kids. When you open their minds to adult pleasures and sexualities, when they teach these kids, they're going to destroy these kids. Their innocence is out the window. Innocence would hardly even exist anymore. And see, that's what's interesting, like when you have all these foreign people come to this nation. In places they came from, they would be put to death for these ideas, for even speaking these ideas, but yet they can come to America and speak these damnable things. In America, the perversion sector of America would accept it as a good idea. This only tells you the state of these lawmakers' minds. This female right here that has brown skin, it tells you the state and the condition of her soul. So I'm going to put this article on the bottom. Feedback, tell me what you think. Subscribe. Click on the Cash App and support this channel. Even, listen, let me tell you, when you support this channel, when you financially support this channel, and I'm thankful for those of you who have clicked on the Cash App or the PayPal link and donated to this channel, because it helps to keep my pay channels open where YouTube can't remove them, where they can't be removed. See, YouTube can cancel this channel, like they now put strikes on a few of my other channels. But once YouTube is gone, I still have my Spreaker. I still have my WordPress. I still have other sites that I pay to be on to post this type of information. So your donations help to keep those channels, those pages alive. So click on the Cash App, support the channel. Feedback, tell me what you think. Subscribe. Until next time, I'm fearless.